Quick question for you. How many countries are there in the world? Seems easy, right? Most of us would say 195. But here's the twist. Depending on who you ask, that number could be 193, 197, over 200, or even less. From political recognition battles to disputed territories, the answer is far more complicated and controversial than you might think. In this video, we're going to explore this question from different perspectives. And trust me, by the end, you'll never look at a world map the same way again. Let's start with the most official source, the United Nations. According to the UN, there are 193 member states. Add in the 2 observer states, Vatican City and Palestine, and you get 195. This is the number you'll find in most textbooks, school quizzes, and travel trivia games. The reason it is so widely accepted is because the UN is the closest thing we have to a global referee on international recognition. But, and it is a big but, the UN doesn't recognize every place that sees itself as a country. Here's where it gets messy. Not every country recognizes every other country. Take Taiwan, for example. It functions like a fully independent nation with its own government, economy, and passports, but because of political pressure from China, it's not a UN member, or Kosovo, recognized by over 100 countries, but still not universally accepted. Depending on which country's foreign ministry you check, the world map can look very different. In fact, some nations keep their own official list of recognized countries, and these lists rarely match up perfectly. From a historical perspective, the idea of a country is relatively new. 200 years ago, the world map looked nothing like it does today. Vast empires ruled over multiple regions, and borders shifted constantly through wars, treaties, and colonization. Some cultural groups, like the Kurdish people or Berbers, have a strong national identity without an internationally recognized state. So, if we define country more in terms of people and culture rather than borders, the number could be much higher. Then we have the de facto states, places that operate independently but aren't widely recognized. Examples include Somaliland in Africa, Transnistria in Eastern Europe, and Northern Cyprus. They have their own governments, currencies, and sometimes even armies. But because they lack widespread diplomatic recognition, they're often left off official lists. For people living there, the question isn't, do we exist? It is, why doesn't the rest of the world see us the way we see ourselves? Borders aren't always as clear as they look on a map. Disputed territories like Western Sahara, Crimea, and parts of Kashmir are claimed by multiple countries. So, do you count these as separate countries or as part of the nations that claim them? That depends on whose map you're looking at, and in some cases whose politics you follow. Fun fact, Google Maps actually changes borders depending on where you access it from. In India, for example, Kashmir is shown fully within Indian borders, but in Pakistan, it appears differently. And then, there are the quirky cases. Did you know about Sealand, a tiny platform in the North Sea that calls itself the world's smallest country? It's not recognized by any government, but it has its own flag, passports, and even currency. Or Antarctica. No one owns it, and multiple countries have overlapping claims, but under the Antarctic Treaty, it's essentially a shared space for research and science. And what about microstates like San Marino, Monaco, and Liechtenstein? They're recognized countries, but so small you could walk across them in a single afternoon. So, how many countries are there in the world? If you go by the UN, 195. If you count partially recognized states, around 197, 200. If you include every de facto and disputed territory, the number climbs even higher. The real takeaway? Borders are human-made, and the definition of a country is as much about politics and power as it is about geography. The next time someone asks you this question, you can say, it depends who you ask. And that's the truth. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that like button, subscribe for more fascinating world facts, and tell me in the comments, how many countries do you think there are?